I'm Miss Becky, and today I'm going to talk to you about hair removal. By now you should have learned in the core class the structures of the hair. Pretty easy in the sense that there's all these different things going on, but basically we know that it's going to continue to grow, shoot out, grow, shoot out, grow, shoot out. So in the structures of the hair, we have the follicular canal, the hair root, the hair bulb, we have the hair papilla, we have the hair shaft, the sebaceous gland, and the erecti pili muscle. Those are going to be the structure of the hair. Now, with the hair, we have three different types of hair. We have the langu, which is that downy, soft hair that's on the fetus. Then we jump over to the vellus hair. The vellus hair is that really soft peach fuzz hair that women will often feel that they think that it's whiskers. It's not quite that thick. It's not the terminal hair. What that is, it's just a little bit of, sometimes it's just a little more excessive than others. Some tend to grow a little thicker where they're a little bit more aware of it and they like to have that removed. That is just soft, downy type of hair. We have, peach fuzz. Then we have the terminal hair. That's the hair that we really concentrate on removing. That's your coarse hair. And talking about the different growth patterns of the hair, they go all in different directions, and so we want to kind of keep an eye on which directions we want to apply our sugar or our wax. So we definitely want to pay attention to the way that the hair is growing. There are two different techniques on how to remove the hair when we are doing a epilation method, and we'll talk about that a little bit. Going back to the growth pattern, I like to consider it like an act. It's an act of hair. It's ACT. A stands for anagen. Anagen is the growth, the new growth of the hair. Then we jump over to the catagen stage. The catagen stage is that transition stage where it stops, it rests, and it starts to detach and it starts aging. And as it's aging, that new hair is growing up and under, pushing that up and out, right? So there's that constant mitosis going. Then lastly, we have the telogen stage. The telogen stage is where it basically, and I know I said resting before, but this is where it really actually stops. It starts, it detaches, it dies. It releases itself from the epidermal cell. So that is where the bulb is not active and it's really just basically going to fall out because there's a new growth going. So those are going to be your pattern of growth. The thing is with that, you want to catch that when you're getting ready to do waxing services or hair removal services in the epilation method. You want to make sure that the hair is all right about that resting area where it's all grown out and you're able to get a majority of that hair out. It's nice at that stage because, again, it's not as, it's detached. It's just sitting there resting, ready to be pulled out. They're all pretty much the same length, and you're able to pull them all out. That's why we usually have our guests wait anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks in between services. That way we can get the hair to be all pretty much on that same growth rate, and it's more successful in the sense we're catching more hair. Yes, they will have hair continuing to grow. It will be like maybe a day or two after they're already starting to fill hair. Well, that's because they've already gone through that new growth stage and hair is already starting to stick out. It's very difficult to catch them all at the same time to remove the hair, but just keep that in mind when you're booking your guests. They may come in and the hair may not be long enough as of yet, so you can tell them, why don't you come back in about 5 days where they're a little bit longer so we can get more hair out, and that your experience of having smoother hairless skin will last a little bit longer for you. So we have the epilation method and we have the depilation method. By now you know the difference. We know that epilation is actually hair removal, that we're removing that hair in that follicle deep down, hopefully right all the way down to that root, to that little bulb where the papilla lives. If you can pull that out there by the root, and you would know, because at the very end of that hair is this little kind of gushy, round little bead, and it's a little waxy, it looks a little greasy. Well, it's because it's, you know, it's the root, and there's some sebaceous activity that's growing around that either as well, kind of lubricating that hair. When you pull that out, that is like, you know, bingo, you got it all out. And that's the idea of having hair removal, is to basically kill that root where the hair doesn't want to grow back to. I will say that there's nothing wrong if you don't get them all out. That is fine. That is just part of the whole process of waxing. It's very difficult to get out every single hair. Now, when they come in, yes, you're going to do your absolute best to remove it all. However, like I said, depending on the growth of the hair, they may already experienced a few hairs popping up after a couple days. Just remind them that, you know, to get every single hair off in, you know, one treatment is difficult, but you're going to do your best. If you do see some hair popping out after you've waxed, yes, you can go ahead and tweeze it. So the other thing I want to jump over to is depilation. Depilation is basically a shaving. You're actually just removing the hair up on the upper surface and out. So you can shave, you can even use a chemical depilation, which is like your Nair. And what that is, it's just melting the hair on the surface of the skin. It's not actually going down into the epidermal layer to remove down in that follicle. It is just surface. So depilation is going to be your surface removal. It is temporary. It is one that you would do mostly daily, because you will already start feeling growth after you've shaved. Some people shave twice a day, like some men. Some, they'll get that 5 o'clock shadow. It's just that their hair growth is very active and it's constantly, you know, moving along. So unfortunately, some guys have to shave twice a day. The scruff is in, so therefore there's some that don't even have to worry about it until, you know, 4 or 5 days later. They just kind of trim it. So what I'd like to talk to you today about is that we have several choices when it comes to waxing. Now, we have hard wax and we have soft wax. What is the difference? Well, the difference is the hard wax, as it sounds, it hardens up. It's a film. It is a stripless wax. You actually spread it on with a spatula, a wooden spatula. You would definitely make sure that your wax is set at the correct temperature, and that would be in your warmer, your wax warmer. And you want to set it in a degree where it's not scalding, but it is warm enough to be able to get it to come out of the can, and that you're able to twist it around and spread it on the skin. Now, there is different styles. As you get more familiar with hair removal and you watch more tutorials, you take more classes, you're going to see all different styles. You're going to develop a style that works best for you. And what I mean by that is sometimes you'll see a wax stick that will be at 90 degrees. Sometimes it will be at 40 degrees. Sometimes you'll see it going on a sideways. Sometimes you'll see it like a paintbrush. There's different ways and different techniques to hold your wax stick. What works for you is going to be best for you and your client, because that is what you have practiced in and got perfected. It becomes your skill. It's good to do all different ways so you can learn it, but there are ways to hold your stick that's going to be most successful for you. I tend to go more on a 90, but I also do 45. It just all depends on the area that I'm waxing, and you'll know that as you get more familiar with the different body parts. So hard wax is that you're going to go ahead and you're going to apply it. And I'll tell you about all the steps, about the sanitary steps, and you know, this is just a little information on hair removal. So when you do place it on the skin, it does not require a strip. You just put it on the skin, and you definitely want to put it on a good amount so you can get a nice big spread, and you want to keep it thicker on the area that you're going to pull from. That is going to be called your lip. So when you come down, and I'll just demonstrate right here, you're going to come down, and you come down, and then you kind of make a little loop, like a little ledge or a lip. That is going to be where you're going to take and pull off. You're going to let the wax sit there for a few seconds or so. It does firm up and cure, I'm going to call it cure, pretty fast. You don't want to let it sit there too long, because if you do sit it there too long and it does tend to cool all the way down, you could cause breakage in your wax strip. So it definitely has to be set up, but you just don't want to ignore it too long, because again, you don't want to risk the fact of you're going to, as you're taking off, it's cracking and breaking. You would risk breaking the hair as well. Hard wax is great for those coarse areas, your underarm, your bikini, those more kind of in those little bit delicate areas. The nice thing about hard wax is you can go back over in that same area. I wouldn't recommend going over and over, but in case you need to go back a second time, even hopefully not more than a third time, you're all right, because it does just sit on top of the surface of the skin. It will exfoliate slightly, because we always have dead skin cells on the surface of our skin, so it will take off some dead skin. It's not going to take off as much as soft wax. So speaking of soft wax, I happen to love soft wax. That's one of my favorite mediums in waxing. I just really like the fact that I can control that, and I can get actually deeper and closer into that little opening of the follicle, of getting it into that wax, or sorry, in that hair follicle where the wax is going to surround it. Some people love just waxing with hard wax, and then there's some people who love with soft wax. Love both. Get familiar with both, because you will need to know how to use both, because sometimes soft wax is not going to be something that you can do on a certain area or on a certain client. Some just prefer hard wax because it's less irritating. It's a little bit easier on the skin. You will go through more hard wax because it requires more wax than it does in the soft wax. Soft wax is also set at a little bit warmer temperature. You always want to check your wax prior to having any guests. Good habit to get into is to set your wax on as soon as you get into your studio. If you can get a timer set up, that's really nice. Sometimes you'll walk in at 10 o'clock in the morning or even sooner, and you have a walk-in. You want your wax to be ready. So my wax, I have a timer on it. It starts at 5:30 in the morning. So the wax is ready to go by 8 o'clock. I have it at a temperature that is just set and comfortable for me. It is one that is, when you're looking at a dial, the best way I could describe it, when the temperature dial is around 1 o'clock. That seems to work fine for me. That's between a 5 and a 6. If it feels like it's too hot for you, that's because mostly what's happening is your wax is coming down. And as your wax is coming down, it's going to get hotter because there's less in the container. So what you want to do is you want to make sure, especially if it is hard wax, right? You want to continue to add the wax. If you add the wax to existing wax, it keeps the older wax still pliable. If you don't change the wax out, or if you just let it run down to nothing, and if it just sits there for a long time, it becomes brittle. It's just not as workable or as pliable as you would like to. So it is a good rule of thumb. When you're seeing your hard wax get low, go ahead and add a scoop. Soft wax, I usually, again, you can't really add to the soft wax because it's already in a container, and you just want to watch your temperature. You want to set the temperature according to the amount of wax that you have in your tub. If it is a brand new one, then yes, it's going to be up around, to me, around 5 or 6 or 1 o'clock. As it goes down, I turn the temperature down because I never, ever, ever want to burn my guest. And When we get into the actual waxing and we get back on campus and we're going to go ahead and start practicing on each other, we're going to get in the habit of always testing the wax. It's just something that just comes second nature. You don't even think about it. Sometimes you don't even remember if you even tested the wax because it's just so automatic. So let's go ahead and talk about sugaring. Love sugaring. This is also another form of epilation. Sugaring is something that has been around since 1900 BC. It goes back into the Parisian women. It goes back to the Egyptian women. They have been waxing for, or sugaring, sorry, two different things. They have been sugaring for centuries. Back in the day, in the time of Cleopatra, I think she was our probably our beauty diva. I mean, she's just been one who was always recognized. When we talk about beauty and we talk about history, we always refer back to Cleopatra. So back in the day, the Egyptians thought it was uncivil to have body hair. So they waxed everything. They sugared, I'm sorry, I keep saying waxing. They sugared everything, including the head of hair. The only hair that they left on their body were their eyebrows. So they felt that having hair, body hair, was kind of demeaning. It was uncivilized. It was dirty. So they waxed everything other than their eyebrows, and that was a huge trend. It also kind of marked your wealth in civilization, because if you weren't a worker, you had these privileges to have all these nice treatments done to you. Sugaring is a very organic type of hair removal. It's made with sugar, lemon juice, and water. That's it. It's like caramel. So when you're making candy in the holiday times and you're using those type of ingredients, it's pretty much the same way. It's the same way. It's you have your candy thermometer. You can make your own sugar paste if you'd like. I'm pretty lazy. I like to buy mine. Sugaring is a technique that's slightly different than waxing. With waxing, what we do with waxing is we go with the hair growth and then we pull against to remove. With sugaring, you do the opposite. You're going to go up against the hair growth and then flick off with the hair growth. So it's opposite. So they definitely have two different style techniques, but the whole effect in the end is the same. It's hair removal. Sugaring is really good for people who are candidates that don't like waxing. Their skin's too sensitive, and they want to have that because they want to have a little bit longer lasting hair removal other than shaving. So if you have a guest who has extremely sensitive skin, sugaring is a really good choice for them. You can get certified in sugaring. There are some companies out there that love to educate you and certify you. It is an art. Not everybody picks up on it. It's because it's a flicking motion, but it's easy to learn. It's very easy to learn. I happen to get certified with Alexandria Professionals, who are one of the first companies that came out with sugar. And ever since then, I've just been sold with Alexandria. There are other companies out there that's just as good. That's just the one that I happen to use. The other thing about sugaring is you're going to use less product. The reason why is when you go in to pick up your sugar, you're going to pick up a pretty good amount, a big hunk, and you knead it and manipulate it in between your fingers, and it's like taffy. It's really sticky, and you're kneading it. You're doing this. If you hold still and you don't move your fingers around, it just starts running down your hand, and then you have a big mess. So you just want to constantly kind of work it, kind of like a taffy, and you manipulate it, and you can use the same hunk of sugar over and over and over again until it gets to the point where it's not sticky anymore and it's not sticking to the skin. Then it's time to throw the ball away, re-glove, and get another hunk out. You can, again, like I was saying, you can use that same ball of sugar over and over again, and you'll know when it's done and ready for a new ball of sugar is it does get less sticky and it's not sticking to the skin anymore, and it kind of turns white. It starts going from this creamy golden yellow tone like honey to almost a pale beige whitish color. And then you'll just know it's time to go ahead and grab another hunk. Sugaring will save you a lot of money in products because there's no strips that are needed. There's no sticks that are needed. However, just like waxing, it is where you need your cleansing solution. You will need your dry powder, and you'll need your post epilation solution, and that can be your lotion or your oil. The cleanser is an antiseptic, so it is cleaning the area and it is disinfecting the area that is about to be sugared. Waxing is the same thing. You have to prep the skin, you have to clean it. If you're doing a larger area, you can definitely put some oil on the back or on the legs if you like to create a barrier, or some powder. Either one is fine. You will find in the industry everybody has their own little technique, and then you'll find someone has a style that doesn't use any. It goes straight from cleansing right to waxing as long as the skin is dry. You will determine what works best for you, and which wax company you choose to carry will have different little tips, making things a little bit different. The other thing with sugaring is I wanted to say, oh my gosh, I lost my train of thought. Sugaring is something that is not known as well as strip waxing. So sugaring keeps things a little bit more specialized, a little bit more unique. It is something that I would love to have you girls get more, and gentlemen get more and more familiar with. I just am very passionate about it because, again, it just stands alone. It's a little bit different. It's a little more gentle. I will say it's a little harder to do brows. I still like to go ahead and do soft wax when it comes to doing facial waxing up here in the brow area, because it's such a small area. And what you're doing is, when you're with sugaring, you're rubbing in, you're going up against the hair. And so it's a little bit difficult. So it does take some skill on that. And I just like to use soft wax because I'm like in and out. I want to get that done. Anyhow, that is going to conclude my little topic on hair removal. If you have questions, let's just go ahead and chat after this video. All right. Thank you.